So I'm finally getting around to showing you my Paralympic and Olympic memories journal that I made in the last year. It's not completely uh, journaled in yet, but I will get there eventually. And I thought I would just go through it and show you what's in there. So on the cover there is Sumi, who is the Paralympic mascot, and this one is Kwachi, who is one of the Olympic mascots. So the papers that I used to make all the pages, we were given a journal that was a soft cover, and I didn't like it, so I basically cannibalized it and tore it out and turned it sideways so that the pages would be wide enough for me to add things. And I actually like the fact that they're turned sideways, and now I can do so much more with them. So I'll go through it. So this is just an ad that was in a piece of flyer that I got, and I cut it out. And I saved all kinds of brochures. This one was about the Olympic uniforms. And I've taken a photo of my shift recording card that was plasticized, and it was on the back side of our ID, so we wore it around our necks. And you can see I've turned the pages so they're not facing up and down anymore. I've done a little bit of journaling. I haven't had time to do a lot. More flyers. These are the leaves that came down from the ceiling during the opening ceremonies in the Acadian section where there were all the fiddles being played. So I scooped up a whole pile of them, brought them home. My bracelet to be down in Ring Road, which is underneath the stadium, so that I could gather up my athletes. This is the Athletes Marshals team. And I'm standing right there, so that was taken after the ceremonies, after the whole place had cleared out and everybody got together for a group photo. This is one of the original sheets I had with the countries I was seeding, and it had the numbers, but it actually wasn't the accurate numbers. It was just a rough draft of what we were getting. We got a bigger one on the day of the opening ceremonies. A little bit of journaling. Sign that was at VANOC headquarters that I thought was fun. These are what our bus stops look like, and they've just changed it up to make it Olympic. More flyers. This is a train that was brought in from Belgium to run along one of the train tracks in Vancouver just for the Olympics. The International Broadcast Centre, which was at the Vancouver Convention Center. I have some places that I'll be journaling, and some of the stickers you see were part of a package that the volunteers got as a gift. This is my athletes marshals. There was a smaller group of us that were actually dealing with the athletes underneath the stadium before the ceremonies. So this was us getting our flags so that we could so that they could see us when we were walking through the tunnel. We'd hold them up high, and these are the flags of all the countries that are going to be parading. This was a flag. A lot of the athletes had paper flags that they brought with them to wave for the ceremonies, and this was one that I was given. And some photos of Elizabeth Manley, who's a famous Canadian figure skater, Steve Nash, who's a basketball player, Anne Murray, Bobby Orr. They were down in the tunnel with us. Photo of me with the flame after the ceremonies. This is a ticket from the opening ceremonies. Did a little bit more journaling. Picture of the outside of the stadium. These are my feet at the opening ceremonies. That paper you see was some more stuff that was shot out of, I don't know, like a confetti cannon, I guess. I just saved this because it's such a great picture of the city. These are the stickers along the side of my ID that as the ceremonies went along, because I went 4 times to the opening ceremonies because there were rehearsals. So these are the ID stickers for us to go through security. And this is my team that was working, seating the athletes. This was after the ceremony. There's more places that I need to journal. The other side of the ticket. Bottle of wine that Van Ott gave us, and I got some free tickets to the dress rehearsal, so my guys were able to go. And this is the Olympic rings in the inlet, and this was just cut from an ad from Hudson's Bay, who did the uniforms. Some of my fellow volunteers at the stadium getting ready for a shift. Just going out in the city with my husband and enjoying some of the fun stuff. Checking in at event services in the security tent. Some passes from our meal services. I saved mine. This is my travel partner Sharon. We met at the Olympics. We're good friends now. Giant mailbox out on the street. This is a bookmark I was given at one of the venues. The Starbucks at the top of the station. I would get off in Yaletown every day, so I'd stop in and get a drink. Sharon working a security checkpoint. Another ID bracelet for the dress rehearsal. The last day of the Olympics, checking in at event services. This was the bonjour pin that volunteers were given if they spoke French. Mine actually went through the wash by accident, so I got another one, and then I thought, well, I'm not going to throw it away. I'll just sew it in my book. And then just some odds and ends of things I've saved. My bus tickets for a couple of the commutes before the Olympics. Our commutes were paid for by wearing our ID, so we didn't have to pay anything. This is waiting at the train station for the actual train, not the Sky Train. It was the first time I'd ridden that train. The first victory ceremony that I worked, Bare Naked Ladies. This was when I was working the mosh pit, which was directly in front of the stage. That was fun. Chinese New Year happened during the Olympics, so one of my teammates gave me a red envelope which has money in it. My group was actually called Team Brazil. They gave different teams names of countries so that we knew which one was which, and Team Brazil was the athletes marshals, so we were a very elite team, so I saved my card from that. Chocolate bar wrapper. They gave us chocolate one day, and it was the Believe chocolate bars. And this has just got little odds and ends of goodies in here. Stickers and passes and things. We got pins, and they gave us Swatch watches, and just visiting some pavilions. That was Canada Northern House that I really loved. It was all about Northern Canada. Fabulous pavilion. Some signs out in Granville Street where they closed it off and had a whole art installation. These are snipers on the roof the day of the closing ceremonies. This is food services on the 4th floor of the stadium, where the police and some of the event service volunteers would have food. This was just a funny picture because they kept insisting that we needed to recycle, but they made it really difficult because people would put their plastic forks and knives in the plastics bin, and then we discovered that they weren't actually plastic. They were made from food, so they should have been in the compost bin. So it became very complicated to know what went where, and eventually they had to make us little signs showing the items that we would receive, that where they needed to go.